Hi friends, today I'm making a sweater Santa gnome for under $10 and my inspiration piece I found online coming in at right under $100. I used a large party hat from the Dollar Tree. I also used 2 foam discs also from the Dollar Tree, a planter, and some greenery, all from the Dollar Tree. I used a red sweater that I purchased from the thrift store at $4.59. I loved how the knit was on the sweater, and I can use this for more than one project. I start by removing all of the frill from the party hat, and I do add a Ziploc bag full of rocks because this is a top-heavy piece and it needs to be weighted. Next, I just add glue all around the bottom of the party hat and I place it right inside of the planter, making sure that it's sitting perfectly straight. I next add a bead of hot glue all the way down the party hat, and then I take the garland and holding it on the top, I simply twist the party hat around and around and bring the garland in tight until I'm happy with how it looks and how full it is. I used half of the garland for this tree. Next, I start cutting up the sweater to form the base of the tree. I decided to use the hem at the bottom of the sweater and to cut a piece that was wide enough to go all the way around the planter and long enough to be able to tuck underneath the planter. I'm going to use the wide band at the bottom of the sweater at the very top of the planter. I like it because we'll have some of the sweater going vertically and some going horizontally on the planter, and I think that that's going to look very attractive. And I just run a bead of hot glue around the top of the planter, and I don't pull on the sweater too tightly because I don't want to stretch it out. I want all the vertical and horizontal lines to stay that way so that it doesn't look like it's pulled and all stretched out. So I go along and I just finish adding the bead of glue all along the top of the planter, and I finish gluing the bottom of the sweater to the top of the planter. And once I have it all done, I run a bead of glue straight down the planter, and I glue a piece on the left, and then I just add another bead of hot glue straight down the piece of the sweater and bring the other piece right over it. And I really try to get the glue very, very close to where it could fray so that that part is glued down very well. And then it's going to be really loose on the bottom. And what I do is I cut slits all around the bottom, and they are about an inch apart. There's a lot of slits around the bottom because what I decided to do is just have it come straight down, not to be pulled, and have it pleat naturally at the bottom so that it's not actually tight fitting. It has pleats all around the bottom of it, and I really love the way that it turned out. You'll see in just a minute after I finish gluing all these pieces, and you see here how I do it. And I just continue doing this until I have glued all the pieces to the bottom of the planter. I love the way that this turned out. The pleated planter looks absolutely adorable, and you can see it's bulky, so it did need the rocks in the bottom. And then I'm going to use the sleeve, the entire sleeve on the sweater, and this is going to serve as the gnome's cap. I gather the top part of the sweater near the shoulder, and I use some leather suede tie that I also purchased from the Dollar Tree in black, and I tie it tightly around the top portion, and then I use the portion of the sweater that has the band on it, the sleeve part, and I start bringing the cap down over the top of the tree to form the cap on the gnome. And then I cut one of the styrofoam balls in half and I glue it to the tree to make the gnome's nose. And I love the black stripes on the red sweater. I think it looks so cute, and this gnome is really starting to come together. And now I'm going to make the mittens, and I just traced out mittens on a piece of paper and on a piece of cardboard, and I folded them over at the seam, and so that I would have one seam that was already closed on both of the mittens. And then I just cut the mittens out as closely as possible to the mitten that I had drawn. Next, I opened the mitten up and I added glue in the exact shape that I wanted the mitten to be on the inside, or the raw edge inside of the mitten. And as you can see, I didn't cut it perfectly, but when I laid the glue down, the glue really formed a nice mitten. So I waited for the glue to dry, and then I just cut around the mitten where the dry glue was, and I got a perfect mitten that way. And I did the same thing for the mitten on the other side. And if there was just a tiny piece that was open, I added a dab of hot glue so that the mittens would close and not fray. And I love these cute mittens. I think they're so adorable. Next, I cut a styrofoam ball in half and I add glue to both sides of the styrofoam ball, and these are going to serve as the gnome's feet. And I tuck them into the bottom of the planter, and then I hot glue the mittens on, thumbs facing up at the top of the planter. And I love the way this gnome turned out. However, I thought the edge of the hat looked a little bit too frayed, so I decided to go in with some hot glue, and I just added glue all around the outside of the end of the hat, and I used an old paint stick and I just pushed the edges in, and then when it was cool enough to touch, I just continued to press the edges in until I had a darling little pleated bonbon at the end of his hat, and I really love the way that looks. I so enjoyed making this project for you, and I really hope that it inspires you to make something beautiful. Thank you so much for watching. I truly appreciate you, and I will see you next time.